And we're kind of on a bit of a running meme, or, Rod Rosenstein and Peter Strzok, all like, since we're on that whole thing, and they're asking Congress, give us the documentation, hurry up. Well, there's ongoing investigation. No, there's not. You've had 8 months. Give it to us. Oh, well, Oh, we're filing charges against 12 Ruskies. 12 Ruskies, baby. We got them. Collusion somehow related to helping Trump win and Hillary not win. Let's see what this nonsense is. PCR says, from Zero Hedge, there's no sign whatsoever of any evidence in the 12 Russians indictment. Authored by Paul Craig Roberts. I'm sure you know of him. Which is PCR, in case you didn't know that. Does Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein's indictment of 12 Russian military intelligence officers for allegedly hacking Hillary's emails and interfering in the U.S. election have any purpose other than to throw a monkey wrench in President Trump's upcoming summit with Putin? Don't forget that Rosenstein is implicated in the orchestration of Russiagate as a weapon against Trump, a weapon that serves, excuse me, that serves the interests of the Democratic Party in the military/security industrial complex, about which President Eisenhower warned us 56 years ago, by the way, to no avail. Rosenstein's indictment of 12 Russians for allegedly hacking computers is a political indictment aimed against Trump. The indictment is otherwise pointless, as the Russian government will certainly not turn over its military personnel to a Washington kangaroo court. The indictment serves no purpose except to poison the atmosphere of the summit. If you read the indictment, you will see, and he blinks it, that it consists of nothing but improbable accusations. There is no way on earth that the U.S. Justice Department would be able to acquire the information in this fictional story that Rosenstein has presented. Moreover, there is no sign whatsoever of any evidence in the indictment. Rosenstein knows that he needs no evidence because the accused will never be brought to trial. Rosenstein has thrown red meat to the prostitutes, who are assets of the military-industrial complex and Democratic Party. And the prostitutes will pressure the Republicans to get behind Rosenstein's call for a united front against Russian interference. You can imagine what would happen if Trump and Putin were to have a successful summit and normalize the relations that Washington ruined between the two countries. If your imagination is not working, consult here. He's got another link for you. During the presidential election campaign, I pointed out that Trump was not Washington savvy, did not know who would support his positions, which were antithetical to the interests of power interest groups such as the military and security industrial complex and global offshoring corporations, and that Trump ran the risk of being destroyed by his own appointments. Rod Rosenstein is a Trump appointment. Moreover, when Trump's attorney general ordered Rosenstein's resignation, Trump refused to accept it and kept Rosenstein in office. Now, hold on, let me read this last line. Trump's miscalculation is so enormously wrong that he deserves the knife in the back that Rosenstein just delivered. Well, hold on. Trump is a master chess player, so to speak. He probably didn't want Rosenstein to go away just yet, because he might have some more dirt and is going to give these people enough rope to hang themselves 5 times over. I'm going to say that might be the reason why, to be honest with you. Maybe. I'll say maybe. I don't know. If there were a valid indictment of 12 Russians, for the sake of the summit's success, a normal functioning deputy attorney general would have held the indictment until after the summit results, and if the summit were successful, would have deep-sixed the indictment regardless of whether there was a basis for it or not. Well, this is our country's on the line, our going egg on the face. Let's just get that out of the way. Nope. Let's roll with it now. By 25 years in Washington, again, Paul Craig Roberts is not some conspiracy theory. This guy has a serious background. My 25 years in Washington tells me clearly that Rosenstein has knifed Trump in the back. If Rosenstein has caused the summit to fail, Rosenstein has raised the risk of thermonuclear warfare. There is an alternative to the explanation above. The alternative, maybe he's getting on what I was just saying. The alternative is that Trump, being a bully, was convinced by those in his administration who most certainly do not want any normalization with Russia, that the indictment would put Putin on the spot and give Trump the advantage in the bullying arena. I can hear the CIA and John Bolton telling Trump that the indictment would be Putin on the defensive and permit Trump to pressure him into a summit outcome favorable to Washington's hegemony. You know, I gotta say, I didn't think that's where that was going. Not buying that. This is a clever way of setting Trump up for failure in his meeting with Trump that could possibly poison the relations between the countries even further without the failure being blamed on Rosenstein. Thus, Rosenstein's position as Trump's political assassin would not be threatened. He would still be running Russiagate with a recused Jeff Sessions sitting there useless. Professor Stephen Cohen is a premier expert on U.S. and Russian elections. His considered view via The Nation is compatible with mine, and he says, Stephen F. Cohen, Professor Emeritus of Russian Studies and Politics at NYU and Princeton, and John Batchelor continue their usually weekly discussions of the new U.S.-Russian Cold War, U.S.-Russian Cold War. You can find previous installments now in their 5th year at thenation.com. As Cohen pointed out in previous discussions, U.S., Russian, Soviet, and post-Soviet summits are a long tradition going back to FDR's wartime meeting with Stalin in Yalta in 1943. Every American president since FDR met with a Kremlin leader in a summit-style format at least once, several doing so multiple times. The purpose was always to resolve conflicts and enhance cooperation and relationships between the two countries. Some summits succeeded, some did not, but all were thought to be an essential aspect of White House to Kremlin relations. As a rule, American presidents have departed for summits with bipartisan support and well wishes. Trump's upcoming meeting with Russian President Putin in Helsinki on July 16th is profoundly different in two respects. U.S.-Russian relations have rarely, if ever, been more dangerous, and never before has a president's departure, in Trump's case, first for a NATO summit and then one with Putin, be accompanied by allegations that he is disloyal to the United States and thus cannot be trusted. Defamations once issued only by extremist fringe elements in American politics. Now, however, we are told this daily by mainstream publications, broadcasts, and quote-unquote think tanks. According to a representative of the Clinton Center for American Progress, Trump is going to sell out the American people and its allies. The New York Times and the Washington Post also featured experts, they are chosen accordingly, of course, who worry and fear that Trump and Putin will actually get along. The Times of London, a bastion of Russia-phobic Cold War advocacy, captures the mainstream perspective in a single headline: "Fears grow over prospect of Trump peace deal with Putin." An anti-peace Washington establishment is, of course, what still unproven Russiagate allegations have wrought, as summed up by a New York magazine writer who advises us that the Trump-Putin summit may well be less a negotiation between two heads of state than a meeting between a Russian intelligence asset and his handler. The charge is hardly original, having been made months before at MSNBC by the questionably credentialed intelligence expert Malcolm Nance and the, it seems, selectively informed Rachel leftist Maddow, among many other quote-unquote experts. Oh, she's a real expert. Got her thing in her earpiece in her ear, green screen, her teleprompter. She's an expert. Oh, couldn't find her way out of a wet, rotting paper bag with 400 holes in it. But she is an expert. Considering today's perilous geopolitical situation, it is hard not to conclude. Well, it's like, I guess something that's bothering me. Rachel Maddow. Oh, the border kids, the illegals, we need to help them. Oh, we need to... Hold up, Rachel. How come, you're shedding a tear? Whoa, is that real or fake? Listen, how come you didn't cry or aren't currently crying over the unimaginable amounts of homeless U.S. citizen kids, foster care, adoption? I mean, we have kids out of control that need good homes. And you're worried about an extremely small amount of foreign kids. See how they want to work on your emotions. They want you to get all upset about something. Not a peep. And Stormy Daniels is going to visit the kids on the border. Oh yeah, that's just what we need, an adult film star who was 3 miles away or so and failed to show up. Now she just got locked up for inappropriate touching or something in one of her shows, you know. Now that's a girl we need. CNN and MSNBC, bring her on. Another one of our experts. Hey, welcome Stormy Daniels. You're an intelligence expert. What do you have to say about this? I mean, might as well. Yeah, anyways, the selectively informed Rachel Maddow, among many other experts, concerning today's perilous geopolitical situation, it is hard not to conclude that much of the American political establishment, particularly the Democratic Party, would prefer trying to impeach Trump to averting war with Russia, the other nuclear superpower. For this, too, there is no precedent in American history. Not surprisingly, Trump's dreaded visit to the NATO summit has only inflated the uncritical cult of that organization, which has been in search of a purpose and ever more funding since the end of the Soviet Union in 1991. The New York Times declares that NATO is the core of an American-led liberal world order, an assertion that might startle many of the non-military institutions involved and even some liberals. No less puzzling is the ritualistic characterization of NATO as the greatest military alliance in history. It has never, thankfully, gone to war as an alliance, only a few willing members and would-be member states under U.S. leadership. Even then, what counts as great victories? The police action in the Balkans in the 1990s? The disasters in the aftermath of Iraq and Libya? The longest still ongoing war in history in Afghanistan? NATO's only real mission since the 1990s has been expanding to Russia's borders, and that has resulted in less, not more, security for all concerned, as is evident today. The only Russian threat since the end of the Soviet Union is one provoked by the U.S.-led NATO itself, from Georgia, the country, and Ukraine to the Baltic states. And only NATO's vast corporate bureaucracy, its some 4,000 employees housed in its new $1.2 billion headquarters in Brussels. You know we all paid for that too, by the way. I mean, U.S. usually pays more than everybody else, but collectively, everyone, all the citizens, you paid for this. And U.S. and other weapons manufacturers who gain from each new member state have profited. But none of this can be discussed in the mainstream because Trump uttered a few words questioning NATO's role and funding, even though the subject has been on the agenda of several think tanks since the 1990s. Also, not surprisingly, and unlike in the past, mainstream media have found little place for serious discussion of today's dangerous conflicts between Washington and Moscow regarding nuclear weapons, imitation treaties, cyber warfare, Syria, Ukraine, Eastern Europe, the Black Sea region, even Afghanistan. It's easy to imagine how Trump and Putin could agree on conflict reduction in cooperation in all of these realms. But considering the traducing by the Post, the Times, and Maddow of a group of senators who visited Moscow around July 4th, it's much harder to see how the defamed Trump could implement such peace deals. There is a long history of sabotaging or attempting to sabotage summits and other detente-like initiatives. Indeed, a few such attempts have been evident in recent months, and more may lie ahead. Nor is the unreasonable, demonized Putin without constraints at home, though none like those that may cripple Trump. The Kremlin's long postponed decision to raise the pension age of Russian men and women has caused his popular ratings, though still high, to drop some 8 to 10% in recent weeks. More significantly, segments of the Russian military security establishment do not trust Putin's admitted illusions about negotiating with Washington in the past. And like their American counterparts, they do not trust Trump, whom they too view as unreliable, if not capricious. The Russian hardliners have made their concerns known publicly, and Putin must take them into account, as has been a function of summits over the past decades. He is seeking in Trump a reliable national security partner. Given the constraints on Trump and his proclivities, Putin, too, is taking a risk, and he knows it. Even if nothing more specific is achieved, everyone who cares about American and international security should hope that the Trump-Putin summit results at least in a restoration of the diplomatic process, the long-withstanding contacts between Moscow and Washington that have been greatly diminished, if not destroyed, by the new Cold War and by Russiagate allegations. Cold War without diplomacy is a recipe for actual war. We should also hope that the Democratic Party's reaction to the summit in its pursuit of Trump does not make it the party of unrelenting Cold War, as it may already be becoming. Drain the swamp. That's what it's going to take. Drain the swamp. Keep going. There's more swamp creatures. There's some more. There's some more. Oh, some more. Drain it. He's got a lot of work to do. His work's cut out for him, believe me. You know this. So, anyways, again, Paul Craig Roberts, when that guy speaks, I listen. He has the background in the resume, so to speak, to back up anything that comes out of his mouth. Take care.